You're listening to Where You Live with Gene and Tony.
We're broadcasting live from the Concierge Landscape Studios, and this hour is also brought to you by Extreme Exteriors. Our guest today, Dr. Gary Solomon from Nevada, who has come up with something called the HOA syndrome. We've been talking about that last hour and this as well. And if you're just joining us, Dr. Solomon, you were mentioning that you believe that the cause of this a lot of times has to do with the board in management companies that are, in your words, controlling an HOA and taking advantage of individual homeowners. Is that correct?
Yeah, and that escalates to another article I wrote on elder abuse. That because communities are basically aging, not just in the building, but rather communities in general have aging populations, that elders become a very quick, immediate target for a stream of income because the people simply can't take care of themselves. They can't respond. They don't necessarily remember that a letter's come in, or they become overly upset. Any number of things.
And you also go on to say, and again, I'm going to quote something here, you don't mince words at all, sir. I'll give you that. You say, as time passes by, these predators, as you also refer to them, you say, become sadists, becoming tantamount to Nazi concentration camps. Is that really true? You really feel that?
Well, you're speaking to someone who is, in fact, Jewish, who lost his whole family in the Holocaust. And I have a strong background in understanding. Much to my shock and dismay, it was the most common theme when describing the way people felt. I took the position of being a listener, not a talker, when people would speak with me. And the most common theme was, they're Nazis. I feel like I'm living in the ghetto.
But those are from people who did not experience the Nazis in the concentration camps. I have too, sir, in my life experienced the same. I recall a few years ago having a condominium association coming on board with our management firm. And we had a social where we had cake and coffee, and where there was a meet and greet. And I remember meeting a number of people who ended up outstretching their hand to shake their hand with me, and I saw that familiar tattoo of numbers going down their arm, which indicated that these were people that were survivors of a Nazi concentration camp, and there must have been at least a half a dozen. And so when you go ahead and make statements like that, to me, that I've got to tell you, I think personally that is irresponsible, sir, because inflammatory, because that is not anything that you can even come close to. A person who receives a letter because they have a $50 fine for painting their front door the wrong color is tantamount to what someone else experienced at the hands of the Nazis during World War II. That to me is not being responsible at all.
The goal in using the language is, in fact, to escalate. It is to create a sense of agitation. It is intended to create a sense of argument.
But if you're doing research, sir, aren't you? You're not. Isn't the point of research, if this is a true syndrome and something that you want to understand through the eyes of psychiatry, that you have to take a dispassionate approach, an objective approach? It doesn't sound like you're doing that at all. It sounds like you've already made up your mind and have a hung court and are moving forward.
Oh, quite to the contrary. If I in fact am concerned about the people in a different country, I make observations. You make observations. Anybody make observations about things that are taking worldwide. I certainly have an opportunity and the right, and will use words to be able to get the point across. Mm-hmm. And the use of the words Nazis, capos, barbed wire fever, all of these are comparative analysis, which I feel very comfortable in using, and intend to actually add more as the book comes out in June.
Okay, so you're selling a book. I want to ask you a question, Dr. Solomon. You said it's very intentional to use this inflammatory language.
Realize that this is an important thing possibly for you to get across, so let me get it across. The book is going to be free. I will not allow any income stream to come to me.
Okay, all right.
I won't allow any money to be made by me, so that no one can accuse me of using it as an income source.
Very fair point. I want to ask you, what is HOA Busters? That's another organization founded by you, is it not?
It is.
And tell us what that is and what's the goal of HOA Busters?
The goal is to go into communities or into cities, states, and begin to roll back homeowners associations to their original goal, which was to live together as a community, not to produce an income stream through fines, collections, and foreclosures.
All right. How do you target the communities that you believe are creating an income stream with fines?
Well, they're actually very easy to find.
Well, you told us it was difficult to determine where the money was actually going.
That is correct.
So then,
but it's easy to find the associations where the money's going into someone's pocket illegally.
Very easy. Very easy because they're tied directly to management companies who in turn are married to collection agencies.
Okay, so are you now saying that any homeowners association that uses a management company is creating income streams that are illegal?
Absolutely not. Absolutely, and I clarified that earlier. Not all HOAs are functioning this way. I've been in a number of HOAs where they operate as a community, where they function with themselves, they manage themselves, they oversee themselves. They simply don't operate or produce income streams or profit.
I'm sorry, Dr. Solomon, but you seem to be drawing a distinction that the distinction is between self-managed associations, which are good, and professionally managed associations, which are bad. Is that right?
That is not a correct statement. I am saying that they're easy to separate, and once they're separated, then it's easy to find out which ones are producing income streams as a result of these kinds of actions.
Well, let me go on with, if I could, excuse me, Dr. Solomon, with HOA Busters. Now, you say that they have a goal of breaking up the current power structure. And what is it that HOA Buster, your organization, what are they going to do strategically that's going to create everything back the way it should be in your eyes because of the racketeering and of all of the predator relationships currently going on? What are you going to do?
Well, it's worth clarifying that the racketeering lawsuit that's taking place here in Nevada is still pending, and that has yet to be proved, but the arguments before the courts are certainly provocative. Having said that, it's also worth noting that the involvement of the FBI with respect to the racketeering is certainly also provocative, but has not come to a conclusion. I expect it to take between 3 and 5 years.
But what is it that HOA Busters, I'll ask the question again, what is it that HOA Busters can do? What is it that you are stating is something that you can do for someone to be able to, for them to be able to regain their homeowners association?
There are 2 phases of HOA Busters. One of them is on the individual homeowner. The individual homeowner is invited to go into documentation with respect to the damages that have been caused to them personally. They're asked to go to their family doctor. They're asked to get documentation, very similar to an automobile accident, which makes the action a tort. The other thing that we will be doing is filing the necessary paperwork to start studying HOAs across the board using subsamples, using the same arguments that is used when a area of land is going to be developed or destroyed.
Okay.
Foresting, where we would go into that and say, before we destroy this forest, let's see how the local beetles are being affected. And so we'll study that for 3 years. HOA Busters is looking to be able to get the time to do the necessary study to back it up to show that this, in fact, is true. I would also note that all of these kinds of studies, when they began, battered wife syndrome, post-traumatic stress disorder, even something as accepted now as washing your hands before doing surgery or tasks, were held with a great deal of criticism. I expect that to take place.
All right, Dr. Solomon, I've found your 7 action steps, and I think that's what you were talking about as to the process that HOA Busters follows.
Yes.
And that includes acknowledge the problems. I think this is your advice to homeowners. Acknowledge the problems, keep a record of the problems, document. That's very familiar to me in my work life. Document. Locate a personal injury attorney. If you're over 55, seek an attorney that specializes in elder abuse. Seek and secure medical attention. This is your advice to the homeowners. Seek financial compensation through a jury of your peers. So you're advising homeowners to what? Pursue a lawsuit, right? For monetary compensation, and then create a support group.
I've got to say, if I can here, I'm sorry, Dr. Solomon, but it appears that what you're encouraging folks to do is to take a look at having a lawsuit, and one because you would be the expert, and your organization, HOA Busters, would be able to now be best suited to handle this. It sounds like ambulance chasing to me, sir, where you're creating a problem and then trying to create your own income stream. I know that may seem a little bit unfair, but if you'll bear with me, we're going to need to take a break right now. And Dr. Solomon, I'll give you all the time to respond after these messages. You're listening to Where You Live with Gene and Tony on AM 1280, The Patriot.